With all this talk about CBDCs or central bank digital currencies in the news, what would happen if gold and silver became legal tender? I'm pretty sure there's something in the Constitution about that. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. We're going to look at what's happening today, a huge shift, unlike something we've seen in a long time, because some areas are saying, look, we don't like what's happening and we want to do something about it. Now, maybe that might be small at first, but it's symbolic at the very least. Let me show you. First thing, Maine committee passes bill to make gold and silver legal tender in the state. Arkansas passes Legal Tender Act, removes taxes on gold and silver. And this, 23 US states move to reclaim gold and silver. Reclaim because it seems to have been fallen off a cliff, right? Reclaim gold and silver as legal tender. In the Constitution, I'm pretty sure it makes it clear that gold and silver is money. That's what you use. And unfortunately, a lot has changed since then. You see, with fractional reserve banking, with digital currencies, the way we use them today are plastic, and you trying to basically go ahead, accelerate what we have, and that was real money. And then we've gone to a system that is based on debt. So those who are in debt can actually be the wealthier. Lots and lots of debt, because debt is now money. So a lot has changed here, and we see these states that are going in a different direction. But there's something else going on with gold. Have you seen what the central banks have done? What about individuals putting something related to gold at a record high? I'm going to show you just that. Stick with me. Texas bill would create a state-issued gold-backed digital currency. They're not the only one. Zimbabwe, of all countries, to introduce a gold-backed digital currency. Now, I think that's good for Zimbabwe to back their currency by something, but we will see what happens here, because we're talking about digital currencies, and who knows what happens to these things. They are just in their infancy. But the whole point here is that a digital currency backed by gold would somehow give it some strength, some weight behind it, wouldn't it? Bolivian central bank to buy gold from local producers. So these are just some articles related to the findings, what's happening with gold and silver right now today. Very good stuff, positive developments all throughout. But what about the central banks and what they have been doing? Let's talk about that here and now. Cash is trash, says Robert Kiyosaki. You've heard him say this before. Would buy more gold even if it crashes. So some people are suggesting that gold will go down. It's a deflation. This is going to happen. But there are others who have made the case that during a deflation, gold would actually perform reasonably well. Not as much as if there's a hyperinflation. But look at this right here and now. Now, I saw your comments in the Argentina video that I did recently, which I will link to at the end of this one. Argentina. Very important, because their currency is plummeting. And people are telling me that people are buying gold inside of Argentina, knowing that they're going to be able to preserve their wealth in gold. So a lot has changed for this one country, where you're watching your value of your cash just depleting, and everything else that's priced in US dollar especially is just going up and up, making life very, very rapidly unaffordable. Okay? Cash is trash. I mean, we know that to be the case. Debt has now become money. How central banks may fuel a new gold rush and what it means for investors. So we can see this right here, just looking at what central banks have done. They talk about this. Central banks are picking up the slack, which saying that, soaring interest rates and a strong dollar saw many leave gold for interest-bearing securities. If you were on this channel, you know what I was talking about. Essentially, when bonds would give you, let's say, 5%, well, investors would pick up the bonds at 5% rather than gold, which may or may not give you a return. And this is all paper, of course, it's not real gold, but that's what investors were doing. Now that's changed, because those yields have started to fall and gold looks much more attractive as a result. Central banks picked up more than the slack. They took advantage of the falling prices to shore up their reserves. The banks accounted for 34% of total demand in the third quarter of 2022. Central banks bought a record 400 tons of gold. That's approximately $20 billion just in that short period of time. So you could see what's happening with the central banks, what they are doing, and I think it should not be ignored because they're the ones that have the empty pockets, or I should say the limitless pockets, and they can, bottomless pockets, whatever the term is, they can get that going beyond what an individual could, right? Now you see this. The prime example is gold, up 20% in 6 months. Surging demand is not led by the usual suspects, investors and large and small seeking to hedge against inflation and low interest rates. Instead, the heavy buyers are central banks, which are sharply reducing their dollar holdings and seeking a safe alternative. Big stuff happening here in the world of gold. Look closer at the central bank buyers. 9 of the top 10 are in the developing world, including Russia, India, and China. Now, not coincidentally, these 3 countries are in talks with Brazil and South Africa about creating a new currency to challenge the dollar. Okay, big stuff all around. When you look at these currencies and the developments that have been happening, it is something that needs to be noted. And I want to know what your thoughts are. Remember, I've got this thing to show you right here. Okay, I thought it was really interesting, and I want to break that down for you. Okay, so don't go anywhere. Let me show you this. How to buy gold hits a Google record as crypto investors chase the world's oldest asset. Isn't it interesting? The old school precious metal has the allure for a generation seeking a respite from the cryptocurrency roller coaster. Some are just saying, I want to park my money somewhere until it's time to invest again. I'm sure that a lot of these people will move their money out, but isn't it interesting how things have changed in a relatively short period of time? Record searches for how to buy gold. People are doing that right now today, retail investors anyway. So there we are. Okay. And then we have this. With the record rainfall over the winter and wildfires of recent years, treasure hunters are again combing the loosened rocks of the soil of California for gold. I thought this was a fake article, but it turns out it was real. The original gold rush occurred about 175 years ago, but hopeful prospectors see recent weather as a fortunate circumstance that may help them pan out for the search of gold around Sacramento and Placerville. Anytime you could stand next to the river, you hear the boulders tumbling, you know gold is moving too. Look, wow. I mean, I didn't realize this, but news to me. Hopefully you get something out of this. As massive snowpack built up during the winter storms in the Sierra Nevada mountains began to melt with warmer weather, the rushing water pushes gold in the mountains down into the rivers. I would love to see somebody be able to turn up some gold in this spot. So if you know anybody, please let me know. More than $15 million in gold and other valuables was stolen from a Toronto airport. So Toronto, Pearson Airport, this is like the international airport for Toronto. And apparently there was a big heist stealing a lot of gold. I didn't think this was an Ocean's movie or what's the Fast and Furious movie, but I guess it is. None other than Toronto. Congratulations, Toronto. Well then, what we have here is a change that's occurring. We'll see if it's a long-lasting change, but certainly with what's happening in the US dollar. That's the lesson. Look at the US dollar. If it's super strong, it affects countries in one way. If it's really weak, which we don't see much of, well, then that has a different change as well, because countries are always trying to weaken their currency against the US dollar to be more attractive for exports. If the US is consuming, they want to be able to basically export as a result. But if their currency is stronger, maybe it doesn't make sense. So this is always in flux. But I think it's important to just know what's happening in relation to the US dollar. Okay, everything is always based on that US dollar, at least for now. Things are changing with the BRICS currencies, potentially backed by gold. Digital currencies backed by gold. I mean, a lot has happened here, but this is where we are at today. I want to know your thoughts about gold. Do you invest in gold? Do you believe in gold? Or is it something that is a barbarous relic? You tell me. Look, Argentina video, you got to see what's happening in Argentina to understand the future of where you are today. Click this video. I'll see you there.